This is Edinburgh Castle, perched on a volcanic plug 430 feet above Scotland's capital. And over the past 1,000 years, every stone laid here, every tower raised, every wall rebuilt has been written in blood. This fortress has been besieged 26 times, more than any other place in Britain. It's been a royal palace, a military garrison, a prison, and a symbol of Scottish resistance. 350 million years ago, a volcano erupted here. The molten rock cooled into dolerite, one of the hardest types of basalt on Earth. Then came the Ice Age. Glaciers carved through Scotland, but they couldn't erode this volcanic plug. Instead, they carved around it, creating sheer cliffs on 3 sides and leaving only one approach from the east. Nature built the perfect fortress. All you had to do was defend one slope. Iron Age warriors recognised this immediately and built a hill fort on the summit around 900 BCE. But here's the problem with this rock. It's impermeable. Water doesn't soak through dolerite. That means every drop of water has to be brought up manually or collected from wells. And that vulnerability, that dependence on water, would determine the outcome of sieges 1,000 years later. The oldest structure standing in Edinburgh today is this tiny building, St Margaret's Chapel, built in 1130 by King David I in honour of his mother, Queen Margaret, who died here in 1093. Look at this Norman Romanesque architecture. Thick stone walls, small windows, rounded arches. This is a Norman-style keep, essentially a fortified residential tower. It's small, it's simple, and it survived because it was built like a bunker. During the Wars of Scottish Independence in the 1300s, when the castle changed hands between England and Scotland again and again, this chapel somehow survived. When Robert the Bruce recaptured the castle in 1314, he ordered most of it demolished so the English couldn't use it again. But the chapel stayed standing and it survived every siege, every bombardment, every rebuilding. Why? Because it's sacred space. Even in medieval warfare, some things were off limits. This chapel is proof that architecture can transcend violence. Now look at this massive curved wall. The Half Moon Battery. It looks like it's always been here, right? But it's actually built on top of something much older. Hidden beneath this battery are the ruins of David's Tower. In 1370, David II, Robert the Bruce's son, commissioned an enormous tower. 3 stories high, massive for its time, it served as the main entrance to the castle. For 200 years, this tower dominated Edinburgh's skyline. And then came the Lang Siege. In May 1573, English cannons, 27 of them, surrounded the castle. For 12 straight days, they fired over 3,000 shots. On May 21st, David's Tower collapsed. The defenders surrendered a week later, and here's what's brilliant about medieval engineering. When Regent Morton rebuilt the castle, he didn't clear away the rubble. He built the Half Moon Battery right over it. You can still see 2 stories of David's Tower buried inside, with windows facing into the battery's interior wall. This is architecture as archaeology. Layers of history literally built on top of each other. This is the Great Hall, completed in 1512 by James IV, and this is where Edinburgh Castle transformed from a medieval fortress into a Renaissance palace. Look up. That hammerbeam roof is made from Norwegian oak, felled around 1510 and shipped to Scotland. The corbels, those stone supports, are carved with Renaissance symbols. These are the oldest surviving Renaissance carvings in all of Britain. James IV was trying to make a statement. Scotland wasn't a backwater, it was connected to the Cultural Revolution happening across Europe. This hall was meant to rival anything in France or Italy. He hosted one grand banquet here in 1513. A few months later he died at the Battle of Flodden, fighting Henry VIII's army. Later in 1566, Mary Queen of Scots dined here when she returned from France. 5 years after that, this hall would witness the Lang Siege. For 200 years afterward, it was used as a barracks, military practicality erasing royal grandeur. The Great Hall shows you how quickly power shifts. One moment you're hosting Renaissance banquets, the next, soldiers are sleeping where kings once feasted. Above the door to the royal palace, you'll see gilded initials, M.A.H, Mary and Henry, Mary Queen of Scots and her second husband Lord Darnley. That marriage was a disaster. Darnley was murdered in 1567, but before that happened, Mary gave birth in this palace. This is the room. Tiny, cramped, hardly fit for a queen. But on June 19th, 1566, Mary gave birth to James VI right here. That baby became King of Scotland at 13 months old when Mary was forced to abdicate. And in 1603, when Elizabeth I died, he travelled to London as James I of England, uniting the crowns of Scotland and England. Britain, as we know it, was born in this room. And with James's departure, Edinburgh Castle stopped being a royal residence. The court moved to London permanently. When the Stuarts left, the palace buildings fell into disrepair. The castle became purely military. After the Lang siege destroyed the castle in 1573, Regent Morton faced a choice: rebuild it as it was or adapt to the new age of artillery warfare. He chose adaptation. The Half Moon Battery was built between 1573 and 1588. This massive curved gun platform designed specifically for artillery. It's positioned to defend against the only accessible approach from the east. For 200 years it was armed with 7 bronze cannons called the Seven Sisters. You can still see the gun positions today. The Portcullis Gate was also built after the Lang siege, replacing the destroyed Constable's Tower. Look at the design. Narrow entrance, defensive angles, a literal portcullis that could trap attackers. This is 16th century military engineering at its peak. Every angle calculated, every stone placed to maximise defensive advantage. But here's the irony. After all this rebuilding, the castle was never seriously besieged again. In 1650, Cromwell took it in 3 months. In 1689 and 1715, Jacobite forces tried and failed to capture it. Bonnie Prince Charlie took Edinburgh in 1745 but couldn't touch the castle. The architecture had become too formidable. The Lang siege taught the defenders how to build a fortress that couldn't fall. By the 18th and 19th centuries, Edinburgh Castle was fully militarised. The new barracks were built in 1799 to house 600 troops during the Napoleonic Wars. They're still in use today. During the 7 Years' War and the American Revolution, the castle served as a prison for captured soldiers. French privateers, American rebels, they all passed through these walls. In 1927, the Scottish National War Memorial was built to commemorate those who died in World War I. This is Edinburgh Castle, embracing a new role, not just defender of Scotland, but memorial to its sacrifice. Even the Argyll Tower, that elaborate Scottish baronial edition from 1887, was funded by a private publisher trying to restore the castle's medieval character. Its Victorian romanticism layered onto medieval pragmatism. Every era added its own architectural signature, and all of it still stands. So here's what Edinburgh Castle really is. It's 1,000 years of Scottish history, built in stone, layer by layer. Every building tells you who held power when it was built. Every ruin tells you who tried to take it away. Architecture isn't just about beauty or function, it's about survival. And Edinburgh Castle has survived longer than any fortress in Britain because generation after generation learned from defeat, adapted to new weapons and rebuilt stronger. That volcanic rock gave Scotland a fortress, but it was human determination, stone by stone, siege by siege, that made it eternal. If you enjoyed this architectural journey through Scotland's bloodiest fortress, I've got a whole series exploring how buildings tell the stories of empires, revolutions, and the people who fought over them. Next week, we're heading to the Tower of London to see how the White Tower's Norman architecture literally enforced William the Conqueror's dominance over England, and how every expansion since then has been about control, imprisonment, and spectacle. If you want to see more castles, fortresses, and palaces where architecture shaped history, hit subscribe. Drop a comment telling me which fortress you want to see next. I'm taking requests. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.